He added something solid. He was so serious and so calm that Francesca was certain he could cause her no problems and even be easy to live with. He was exactly who and what Francesca wanted as a tenant or roommate, and Eileen looked unimpressed when Francesca commented on it. He's too quiet, Eileen said without much interest. He was too old for her anyway. She said she liked boys her own age, most of whom were just graduating from college as she had. Chris seemed very mature at 38, and in some ways even older than Todd. Francesca suspected that having a child had made him that way or his divorce. Whatever it was, Francesca thought he seemed like a responsible adult, which was just what she wanted in a tenant. He moved in the following weekend with his drafting table and art supplies. He set them up carefully along with a set of barbells, a flat screen TV, a sound system, and his clothes. His bedroom furniture had been delivered the day before, and she was startled to see had bunk beds, which seemed a little odd. She assumed they were for his son. He kept to himself once he moved in, and Francesca didn't see him all day, since she was at the gallery. And by the time she came home, he had moved in, made himself something to eat and was back on his floor working. And Eileen was away for the weekend. The house was orderly and quiet. She didn't even see him until Sunday when she met him in the kitchen making a pot of coffee. She asked if everything was all right, and he said it was. He sat quietly at the kitchen table, drank his coffee, read the paper, poured himself a second cup, and went back upstairs. He didn't engage in conversation with her, and she noticed that there was something sad about his eyes. Whatever his story was, he had no desire to discuss it. Chris seemed to have no interest in making friends. He was pleasant and polite, and as cool as he had been with her when they first met. It suited Francesca just fine. She told Avery about his moving in when she called that night. He sounds like the perfect tenant, Avery commented. Good boundaries, good manners, good credit. Have you met his kid? Not yet. I guess he'll be here next weekend. Let's hope he's not a brat. Chris doesn't look like the kind of guy who could tolerate that. He isn't a lot of fun. There's something sad about him. He's very quiet. Maybe he's had a rough time, or maybe he's just that kind of guy. Not everyone is as charming and chatty as your father, she said, and they both laughed. Any prospect for the units downstairs? Everyone was impressed by how easily the other two had fallen into place, and it sounded like Francesca had lucked out with two ideal tenants. One was pleasant and sweet, and the other serious and quiet. It didn't get much better than that. Any news from Todd? He called at the gallery a few days ago, but I was out, visiting an artist and picking up some new work to save money and keep their overhead down. She didn't all the menial work herself. He left me a message saying that he hopes I'm okay. I hate to say it, but I miss him. I miss the way it was in the beginning, not the way it was for the last year. Life is pretty quiet. All I do is work, come home at night, eat, watch TV, and go to sleep. Things will pick up again. You need to get out, go to some openings and some parties. But Francesca wasn't in the mood. She told Avery about a new artist she had found through one of the gallery artists in Brooklyn. They talked about her father for a few minutes. He was working hard on his upcoming show, and Avery said his newest work was fabulous. She was his biggest fan, and after they hung up, Francesca turned off the light and lay in the bed in the dark. She could hear the sound of the TV in Island's room and Chris moving around downstairs. It was kind of reassuring not to be alone in the house. She liked the feeling, even though she hardly knew either of them and maybe never could. As she thought about it, she drifted off to sleep. Francesca opened a show at the gallery the following week. Openings were always hectic and stressful. She had to make sure she had the work in the gallery in time, which often meant harassing the artist to get it ready right down to the last minute, getting the invitations out to their clients, begging art critics to come to the show to review it, lighting the show herself. By the time they opened their doors for the opening, she was exhausted. The artist she was featuring the time was difficult and kept insisting she move everything around. They showed 4 pieces the first night, and for several weeks she was too busy to check for new responses to her ad. She kept meaning to, but forgot. She needed another tenant, but she didn't have time to pursue it, and she never saw Chris or Island. The arrangement was working well. It was 3 weeks after Chris had moved in that she finally met his son. She was sitting in the kitchen checking her email when she heard a sound, startled, and looked up.